Welcome, friends, to our Wednesday meditation and talk. We're being webcasted on my YouTube pages, and this is available also through IMCW. So we begin with our meditation. Take some moments to find a posture that supports you, so you're relaxed and also awake. Then let yourself come into stillness. The mood of meditation is one of a friendliness, kindness. And we can establish that mood through our whole body, first by imagining and sensing a wide open sky that's filled with the curve of a smile. So just imagine that, an open, vast sky, and a smile spreading through that sky, illuminating, sensing the receptivity of a smile. Letting your mind merge with that open sky so you can sense that smile spreading through and filling and lightening up your whole mind. And sensing the eyes smiling, the outer corners of the eyes lifted up. So that smile spreads through the eyes and you can feel all the sensations of the eyes floating. Light and dark, tingling, vibrating. Letting the brow be smooth. Sense a slight but real smile also at the lips. Sense the inside of the mouth smiling. The eyes are soft and smiling, the mouth smiling. Notice that the tongue can spread naturally, filling the lower palate. You can relax the tongue down to the root. You might become aware of all the sensations in the mouth, the teeth, the gums, the lips, the tongue, tingling and vibrating in space. The eyes are soft, smiling. The mouth. And you might visualize and sense the curve of a smile spreading through the area of the heart. Smiling into the heart. And sense how this doesn't cover over anything, it creates more space for the life that's here. And letting that friendly space hold whatever feelings, experience is in the region of the heart. You might gently soften a bit in the shoulders, allowing the shoulders to fall away from the ears. And feeling inside the shoulders, If you feel some tension or tightness, sense that it might float a little in awareness. Letting be wakefully. Letting the hands rest in a very easy and effortless way. You might explore softening the hands and softening again. And feeling from the inside out the aliveness that's right here. Notice how intimately you can feel the sensations. And again, sensing the eyes are soft and smiling. Mouth slightly smiling. Smile spreading through the heart. And as you scan down the body, feeling the midsection, you might imagine, visualize, and feel the curve of a smile spreading through the belly. And perhaps you can let this next breath be received in a softening belly. This breath. And now this one. And again. Feeling from the inside out the sensations and the aliveness through the whole midsection of your body. Hands soft, belly soft. Breathing deep into the torso. Awake and here. If you continue to scan down, you can visualize and sense this curve of a smile spreading through the pelvic region. Relaxing, opening to the sensations there. The awareness deep in the torso, breath by breath, feeling the aliveness that's here. You might imagine at the base of the spine as if you're sitting in a vase or the curve of a smile, directly contacting the base of the spine. Just visualize that and sense the earth's energy pouring up through that vase into your body, flowing up and filling your body with aliveness. Feeling the aliveness everywhere in the arms, the hands, the legs, the feet. So that if you widen the lens, you can sense this body as a field of sensation. Sensation vibrating and tingling and bubbling and changing in space. floating in space. Not stopping anything or opposing anything. Letting everything happen. Letting everything be just as it is. Along with sensation, aware of the sounds appearing and disappearing in the open space of awareness. The sound, sensation, feelings, this whole changing stream of experience, unfolding moment by moment. In this wakeful openness. You might sense in the midst of all that's happening, the simple movement of the breath. And resting in that, letting that perhaps be the foreground. Still aware of the sounds and other sensations. Let the intention be to have an alert and friendly and interested presence right here. Open to the changing flow. And when the mind gets drawn off in thoughts, which it's natural and happens, it's inevitable, the practice is to simply notice that when we do, and gently relax open the attention again, aware of the sounds that are actually here. Perhaps sensing that smile in the eyes, the mouth, the heart, and reestablishing a friendly presence. Relaxing with the breath, relaxing with the life that's here, letting everything be just as it is. these last minutes, you might explore a bit more what it means to meet the moment with a friendly quality of presence. A gentle, clear attention, letting this life be just as it is, moment to moment. Okay, taking some full breaths. If it serves standing or moving, please do so. And as you make this transition from the formal practice, I'll make some announcements for this coming week. As always, please check tarabrach.com for all my virtual offerings and check IMCW.org for live stream offerings made available by our local DC area teachers. The sanghas for this week are seniors, Café con Leche, Asian and Pacific Islanders, and teens. Each Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. East Coast time, you're welcome to a mindful dialogue gathering of the community. The call-in information is tarabrach.com/class. And finally, I mention Dana, our donations each week, because we offer the teachings and meditations freely, and what you offer by way of donations makes a huge difference. So I want to let you know how much I appreciate what you give, and that it really does help allow us to keep offering this freely. Okay, links can be found in the description. And now for this week's talk. Namaste. Welcome, friends, and thank you for being here. I'll be beginning with a story that I love, which is a woman tells about a tired-looking old dog that wandered into her yard, and she said she could tell from the collar, there weren't tags, or from the collar that the dog was well fed and clean. He had a home. And so he followed her into the house and down the hall, and he hopped on the couch and fell asleep. And she said, well, my dogs didn't seem to mind, and he seemed like a good dog, and so on. So I was okay with him being there, and I let him take a nap. And then about an hour later, he just hops off the couch, goes to the door, and she let him out. And so the next day, he was back, and he resumed his position on the couch and slept for an hour. And so this went on for several weeks. And she got curious. So she pinned a note to the dog's collar and wrote, every afternoon, your dog comes by to my house for a nap, and I don't mind, but I want to make sure it's okay with you. And the next day, the dog arrived with a different note pinned to his collar, and it read, he lives in a home with 3 children. He's trying to catch up on his sleep. May I come with him tomorrow? So I've always loved this story because it brings up this feeling of community, of welcome. You're welcome in my home, a kind of friendliness and a warmth. We love the feeling of friendliness. I mean, think of it. Someone travels to another country and you ask about the highlight of the trip, and it's, oh, the people were so friendly. Or if you just reflect on a recent moment, a genuinely friendly interaction, we know it. When dust is dust, this is what matters, that kind of a heart connection. So, friendly relationships sustain us in the deepest way. And there's a story told by the Sufi teacher, Andreas Shah. He says that there was this dervish who was really wise and beloved, and every time, he'd sit down at one of his favorite coffee houses, he'd immediately be surrounded by students and devotees. And he was humble. He didn't proclaim to be something special. But those were the very qualities that created this kind of vibrant aura that attracted people. So he was often asked different questions about spiritual life, but the most frequent was personal, which was, how did you become so holy? And invariably, his response was, I know what is in the Quran. So this went on for quite a while until one day, after hearing this response, a kind of arrogant newcomer challenged him. He said, okay, so what's in the Quran, And he was demanding. And after regarding him kindly, the dervish responded this way. He said, in the Quran, there are 2 pressed flowers and a letter from my friend Abdullah. Our capacity for true friendship, and more broadly for friendliness, it's an expression of an awake heart. And as we cultivate this capacity for friendliness, our heart keeps waking up. And you can intuit this, that when we're feeling friendly, inwardly, we're just more aware, more open, more free. So today, I want to explore what ups our friendliness level. And the title of this talk is 3 Degrees Friendlier. We'll be looking at how 3 degrees friendlier in our personal life, and by friendlier, not syrupy, not cloying, not fawning, not pretending, just a little more warm and open, how 3 degrees can actually be a kind of tipping point in your own life, as mentioned, inwardly, more free, transforming your experience with other people, and also helping to change the emotional climate in our society. Which brings me to why I'd be talking about friendliness in our current times. Because here we are in this world where significant numbers of people report not having any friends, especially Generation Zers, much isolation, our in-person socializing, participating in religious and secular community, it's at an all-time low. And most poignantly, the atmosphere in our wider culture is not friendly. I mean, in the United States, with our current Trump regime, attacking other sovereign nations, wanting to take over, buy, control different countries, violating, detaining, and killing our own people, armed occupations in some cities. And it's part of a kind of growing tide of authoritarian governments around the globe. And I'm naming this because the message of this, and this is with all strongmen regimes, is that we're being governed by intimidation and force rather than collaboration, rather than respect, rather than care for the common good. And our nervous systems register the world is more dangerous. It's dangerous to protest. Fear starts shaping how we relate. And this has been studied in fascist countries. The level of mistrust is so high, people increasingly suppress empathy, suppress cooperative instincts, so just less open and friendly. Okay, so 3 degrees friendlier. We know tipping points are real. I mean, mostly we talk about it in terms of climate, and it's kind of staggering how just a few degrees of temperature can unleash so much suffering. I mean, we're seeing it now with melting glaciers and rising seas and warming ocean and how it's disrupting weather systems, increasing floods, droughts, food shortages. So a relatively small shift in average temperatures and whole systems begin to unravel, forcing people from their homes. So there are also tipping points towards healing. I mean, researchers have been studying hundreds of social movements, and they've concluded that when about 3.5% of a population actively and visibly participates, especially through nonviolent activity, major cultural political change becomes hard to stop. 3.5% get active, just a small committed critical mass. I have to say 3.5 was an awkward number for this talk, so I stayed with 3 degrees. But, one of my deepest prayers is that a growing number of us will feel our care for life and participate in actions that save democracy, that we create that critical mass. And today's focus is on the quality of heart and consciousness, the relational care and respect that actually makes this transformation successful. Building bonds, remembering our belonging. And the truth is, the only place that relational shift can begin, it's right here with each of us. So 3 degrees, or if we're ambitious, 3.5, friendlier. So let's pause here. I just want to do a kind of check-in, an opening reflection. We're each taking stock of our own friendliness quotient. And please, without judgment, just be curious and ask yourself, do you think of yourself as a friendly person? And you might sense, well, what does the word actually mean to you? As you reflect, you might sense, where does friendliness come easily for you? I mean, there are probably certain people, certain settings. And also to sense, where does it drop away? Where do you get cut off from friendliness? Is it public places with strangers, when you're under stress, when you're tired or rushed? Look back on a recent interaction, could be with a friend or family or even a stranger. Can you think of a moment when friendliness could have been possible, but you were on autopilot in some way? And as you do this, you might sense what could have shifted if you were 3 degrees friendlier in those moments. Okay, take a breath. If you closed your eyes for that reflection, open your eyes. You might wonder about the word friendly in 3 degrees friendlier, versus, let's say, love, or 3 degrees more loving or more compassionate or kinder. And some of you are probably familiar, the Pali word metta. We think of it as meaning loving kindness. The other key description of metta is friendliness. Listen to the Metta Sutta. It reads like this. It says, just as a mother would protect her only child at the risk of her own life, even so should one cultivate a boundless friendliness towards all beings. A boundless friendliness towards all beings. Okay, so in my own life, over the years, I've held right front and center that intention towards being loving, being kind, compassionate. And more recently, I've found that reflecting on the sense of friendliness is actually more actionable in a daily way. And it's also really fun. it makes when I have that intention, okay, so what's friendliness gonna be like here? It makes every interaction more interesting, more engaging, more gratifying. So part of my motivation in this talk and reflection is, of course, to deepen that uh, exploration for myself and invite you if you haven't done this to experiment. Like, what happens when we enter different situations with the intention of friendliness? Because here's the thing, friendliness, it's not only accessible in daily life, it often doesn't take that much. I mean, just enough friendliness so you remember to express appreciation, or to smile at a stranger, or to add a bit of humor to an email makes such a difference. Immediately, there's that sense of, oh, yeah, here we are together. Or in the larger society, just that sense of seeing somebody and just sensing, okay, we're in it together. I mean, everyone has a hard struggle. Or to really look and sense that deep down, others care. They want to love and be loved. So definitions, what do we really mean by friendliness uh, with our friends, with our family, with our colleagues? And again, I'm not talking about agreeing or pleasing or pretending, and definitely not about abandoning boundaries. Some of you might remember this story about a couple they'd been married for 60 years, and just they say that to stay together that long, you have to be completely honest with your partner. So the husband and wife were very open and shared everything and didn't have any secrets from each other. Well, almost. The wife had been keeping a shoebox in the closet, which she asked her husband not to open or even ask about. And the man never thought about the box in 60 years until the day his wife got very sick and the doctor said she wouldn't make it. And while trying to sort out their affairs, the husband took the shoebox out, uh, for, brought it to his wife's bedside, and she agreed it was time for him to see what was inside. And the man's eyes widened because he discovered there was $95,000 and two crocheted dolls in the box. When we were to be married, she said, my grandmother told me the secret of a happy marriage was to never argue. She told me that if I ever got angry with you, I should just keep quiet and crochet a doll. And the husband was really touched. He said, two dolls means, she was angry with me just two times in 60 years. And honey said, after the overwhelm of the emotions, he said, that explains the dolls, but what about all this money? Where did it come from? Oh, that, she said, that's the money I made from selling the dolls. Okay, point of telling this story is that friendly does not mean bypassing emotions, the hurts, the fears, the anger. As we'll talk about, when strong emotions come up, the starting place is to befriend what's inside us, those emotions. So, but what is it? What really makes up friendliness? And when I explore it, my understanding is there are three very interrelated and trainable qualities that emerge when we're friendly: presence, acceptance, and care. PAC, presence, acceptance, and care. I've been thinking of it as my portable friendliness pack, you know. So noticing what's here, presence. Presence is attending with a natural interest. When people are present and they show interest, they're aware, they're not lost in reactivity or preoccupied, they're listening. That is a quality that allows us to feel we matter. Then the second, acceptance, which is allowing that we're receptive rather than judgmental to whatever's there. We're not closed, we're not defended. So acceptance is this willingness to open rather than shut down or turn away. And I just want to note, of course, judgment arises. I mean, presence will then notice that, and there's an intention not to live inside it. Presence, acceptance, and care. And care naturally arises when there's an accepting presence. It's that felt sense of warmth and kindness that gets expressed. It's a capacity to nurture.
Okay, so when these three qualities are present, even in small amounts, the felt sense of authentic connection becomes possible. Friendliness is the temperature at which compassion can happen, honesty, loving kindness, gratitude, spontaneity, play, and also healing. Some of you might remember this. I was really inspired by hearing about friendship benches that started in Zimbabwe. Um, Elders, grandmothers, as it turned out, would sit on benches, and people having difficulty would come and sit with them. And the training for the elders, PAC, PAC, they were trained in presence, listening, just listen, acceptance, and care. And one of the grandmothers tells a story of a man who came to sit with her week after week. And at first, he just didn't speak. Mostly he stared at the ground. He had a lot of trauma, a lot of loss, very isolated life. But after several weeks, he finally looked up and he said, "This is the first place where I feel like I matter." Friendliness. It lets another know they matter. Just to say that those friendship benches, some people from the United States heard about them. They were brought to Washington, D.C., and many people that went to them said the same thing, which was, I didn't know how much I needed to be listened to until someone actually did it. In the Netherlands, there are chat benches in parks intended for strangers to connect, to have friendly encounters, and there are friendship benches in schools. And I'm sharing this because what a wise and beautiful kind of community healing and nurturing. I mean, it just feels like if there was a park and I saw a friendship bench and somebody was on it, I'd be very interested to sit down and feel that possibility of friendly connection in that way. So part of practicing 3 degrees friendlier is an understanding, and that is that one of our most basic relational needs is to feel safe enough. If you think of our evolutionary makeup, the first thing that happens when we encounter somebody is there's a flash of a scanning, which is really asking, is this person safe? And if we sense judgment or contempt or unpredictability or that they're inflated, have a superiority thing going, or inauthenticity, or they're not emotionally available, or they're dominating, not safe. Our nervous system tells us to protect. But when instead, if we pick up the signs of friendliness, that there's presence and interest, acceptance, care, our nervous system can relax. I like the way Albert Schweitzer taught about this. He said, a friendly word, a friendly look, a friendly gesture. These are the foundations of peace. So we're social creatures, and friendliness nurtures us. It gives us a sense of belonging. The psychologist Luis Cozzolino put it this way. He said, we're not survival of the fittest, we're survival of the nurtured. And of course, without nurturing, we become sick animals. Now, there's a cartoon, a dog with a psychiatrist, and he's saying, I guess I'm okay, but I don't know. I just like having places where I'm allowed on the couch. So, quite naturally, if we have much historical wounding and trauma, or if we're in a time of intense anxiety or fear, it's harder to extend our received genuine friendliness. I mean, we're focused on survival in those moments, and our systems for connection and empathy are downregulated. And we're not going to be drawn to the friendship bench. Instead, and this is an anonymous quote, when women are anxious, they eat or shop. When men are anxious, they attack another country. So, as mentioned, the given is that the stressors and trauma are society-wide, which means that up-leveling friendliness right now, not only does it take intentionality, It has to begin again and again with befriending our inner experience, nurturing our inner experience, helping ourselves to feel safe. In teaching for all these years, much of my focus has been just this: befriending the inner life, self-compassion, self-kindness. Today, our focus is on friendliness with others, but it's important to know that if you're feeling unsafe, if you're feeling reactive, the first step in 3 degrees friendlier is to befriend the inner. One of my favorite places to practice 3 degrees friendlier is when I'm walking my dogs on the trails that are near our house. And some weeks ago, I had a back spasm, and I'd recovered some, and I was intending to go out there and do my 3 degrees friendlier. But I was really self-focused. I was soon to fly west. My body felt very vulnerable. I felt a lot of fear, like, am I going to be able to make it? How bad will this back spasm come back? I was grim. It was not a biochemistry of friendliness. And so I realized, okay, this is time for inner befriending. And I did this pact, presence, acceptance, care. I was present with the fear. Okay, this is fear. Accepting, allowing, okay, this belongs. And then care. And I just said, thank you for trying to protect me. I'm okay right now. And I just kind of washed through my body with some kindness, and something softened. I was just more inwardly connected and safe. And soon after, I saw a family walking. They were coming from the opposite direction toward me, and I could see a 8-year-old, I guess, 7-year-old boy who was eyeing our puppy. And so when they got close in, I said to him, "Would you like to pet the dog? If so, here's a treat. You can give her a treat." And I showed him how to do it and so on. They had a great time, and when he was walking away, I could hear him really excited and laughing, telling his parents, "She really liked me. She really liked me." And I, of course, left pain-free and happier. Inner befriending is essential. So in that spirit, let's just take a pause just to get a taste of grounding in this way. Wherever you are, just let your attention go inward and take a few full breaths. And gently ask yourself, am I present? Am I aware of what's happening inside right now? And let yourself be curious. Deepen your tension, your presence with your inner life. And just asking yourself, can I allow what's here to be here? And again, take some moments. If there's something difficult, you might say, okay, this belongs, this belongs. It's a wave in the ocean. And then ask, can I meet this with kindness? And just sense the possibility of warmth, of care, kind of washing through. You might put your hand on your heart. And take some moments to deepen that sense of presence, acceptance, and care. And notice that as you inhabit these qualities, the more you do, the more you're actually resting in who you truly are, in loving awareness. That friendliness is a path of homecoming. Take a few breaths, and if your eyes are closed, please open them. So we're going to turn to practical friendliness, 3 degrees with others. And we'll draw from, I just want to review a set of simple practices, and you can find them on the website. I've published them on social media. These are really guidelines that are ways that we can uplevel friendliness. And the beginning is always intention. If you can remember your intention to be friendly before an encounter, it will make it possible. And this is most clear when we look back at the encounters that actually felt habitual, where we missed moments of real contact. I mean, a friend recently shared about fitting in a call with one of her old friends during a busy day. And in the call, her friend had mentioned something about stress at work with her boss, but they quickly went on to other things. And she got off the call and realized she'd been on autopilot. She had never really arrived. There was not a real sense of contact or warmth. They just stayed on the surface, and it was a regret. She wished she had been more intentional. I mean, I often think of the common regrets of the dying, and a key one being, I didn't prioritize relationships. My focus was elsewhere. Okay, so that's the first, is to remember our intention to be friendly. The second is kind of an outside in, which is to smile. And it's one of the major human signals that you are safe with me, you're cared about. When I was younger, I didn't smile easily. And my husband at the time, Alex, at one point gave me some feedback. He said, people find you intimidating. You have that kind of grim, intense look. And it was the best feedback I'd ever had, really, because it was my impact on people. So I started smiling intentionally. And at first it felt fake because I wasn't accustomed to it. My face was just not used to making the expression. But I had a model. I had a friend who had this wonderful beaming smile. So I thought of her, and it became kind of fun. And over time, it became natural. Smiling makes me happy. And research shows this, that if you volunteer a smile, even when you're not feeling it, it shifts your mood. And then the smile becomes more real, more natural. It fills the eyes. So again, a real smile helps others feel safe and liked. The next thing is eye contact, because the message is you're seen. I'm interested, I'm paying attention, I'm present. My husband, Jonathan, taught for many years at the Kripalu Center, and one of the workshops that they offered every year was really deep, really intimate, really bonding for people. And one man attended one year, and he came back the following year with a report. He said he had been super inspired by the depth and honesty, and especially the power of sustained eye contact, really seeing the soul of another being. So he told the group, he said, I went back to New York, determined to bring this practice into daily life. So there he is, and he's practicing on the subway, making this deep, sustained, loving eye contact with strangers. So he's sharing this to the group the following year, and he looks at them and he says, apparently, this is not a universally welcome spiritual practice on the New York subway. I gather that one person looked ready to call for help, and another, I think, proposed to him. So sustained eye contact, context matters. It's 3 degrees, not 30 degrees friendlier. Okay, the next one, expressing appreciation. People feel cared about. And if you are doing it, name something specific, like, I appreciate how you handled that situation, or I can sense how much you care about such and such, or your way of supporting your children inspires me, because specific appreciation actually lands more deeply than generic praise, and it includes appreciation, like, I enjoy being with you, in some way letting them know that. I saw this cartoon of these two monks, and they're giggling, and one is saying, "Ha ha, you tell that one in every lifetime. It never gets old." So letting people know you appreciate and enjoy them. Okay, the next one, and this is one that takes training and is super powerful in upping 3 degrees. Ask a question that goes deeper. We get habituated, we skim the surface. So instead of, how are you? You might say something like, so what's really been engaging your energy lately? Or if they do share something, so what was your takeaway from that? How did that land? Or what was challenging about that? Or if they made a decision in their life, what made you choose that? Your curiosity signals care. and you discover more who that person is, more understanding. Sometimes I'll just say the words, please tell me more. Tell me more about that. What else? Okay, the next one. This is one I think we know about. Try to listen without preparing your response. Let the other person finish and even pause before replying. We're so leaning forward, ready to exist and put ourselves in. Pause before replying. This true, spacious listening is one of the strongest signals of friendliness. It says, you matter, I'm interested, I'm here. To add on to that, and this is the next one, it's helpful to mirror back what you heard. If somebody says something that matters to them, just a simple, so it sounds like you felt, it lets people know that they're understood, especially if there's some sort of a conflict in needs, mirroring. So what I'm hearing is you felt hurt when I arrived late, something like that. It helps to repair and reconnect. Again, if these feel valuable to you, you don't have to be taking notes or anything. It's on the website. The next is offer appropriate touch when welcomed. A hand on the shoulder, a hug, a warm handshake. Again, remember the subway story. This is only if it feels right, if it's consensual. But the truth is, touch can communicate safety more quickly than words. So touch if it's appropriate. Do one small act of helpfulness. I mean, it's always poignant to me in public settings, the goodwill with a small gesture. I was recently traveling. I was in an airport, and I held the door for somebody. We exchanged a warm look. My heart felt lighter. It was so sweet. In traffic, pausing to let someone merge in your lane, or giving someone your seat on a crowded subway, or at the supermarket, letting someone in front of you if they don't have a lot of items, just to lighten someone's load in a modest way. And you can always ask someone if they're having trouble, is there some way I can be helpful? Another, end interactions with care. You can simply say, I'm glad we talked. It was good to connect. But it really helps people feel seen and valued. Okay, friends, so these are some simple ways that we can 3 degrees more nourish each other. And some take more practice than others. And if you want to train, choose 1 or 2 just to focus on. Just say to yourself, well, for the next couple of days when I'm with somebody, I'm going to try to remember to ask a kind of question that'll drop it a little deeper, so there's a little more connection. So this brings me to the big challenge. I want to name the big challenge to 3 degrees friendlier is that we're often on our way somewhere else. And by that, I mean, especially in casual daily encounters, it's not so easy to arrive and bring our full attention to the person we're with, especially if we're living with stress, if we're feeling that sense of time crunch. And so many of us do, that there's not enough time. As Mary Webb says, to stop and be kind, we have to swerve from our path. I want to share a story. I love this one. It's told by the poet and spiritual teacher Oriah Mountain Dancer. And it happened at the end of a workshop that she led. She writes this, she says, at the end of a very long day, a small, thin woman with an oversized parka introduced herself as Isabel. Can I do this meditation on my own, she asked. Yes, I said, I'm sure you can, although many people find it easier to establish a meditation practice with the help of a group, if it's hard to keep up the discipline on your own. But what will it give me? What will I get if I do it every day? Her tone took on a whining quality, and I felt my irritation rise as she continued. How fast will it work? Will I feel a difference after a week? How will I know if it's working? This was exactly the kind of thing I detested, the quest for a quick fix. My sons were waiting for me, and I wanted to get home. I took a deep breath, And I looked directly at Isabel and set my knapsack down on the floor. I tried to slow down my words, thinking that maybe if I spoke slower, I would feel more patient. Well, I said, meditation is more a process than a goal-oriented activity. It can help you become more aware of what's going on within and around you, and this can help reduce stress. My best advice is to try it and just be patient with yourself. I picked up my bag and started to button my coat. I really did have to leave, and I wanted to get out while I was feeling virtuous for not snapping her head off. But as I started to move away, Isabel suddenly reached out and grabbed my arm with surprising strength. But what I want to know, she said, her voice rising in a crescendo that bordered on real panic, is will it help me find God? If I meditate, will I have an experience of something or someone out there listening, something really with me? A wave of desperation swept out from her through me, and I was surprised to find my eyes filled with tears. This woman wasn't looking for an easy answer or guaranteed formula because she was lazy. She wanted something she knew would work and work quickly because she was hanging on by her fingernails. She was afraid she simply wasn't going to make it through months or years. I put my hand gently over Isabel's where it gripped my arm. It's okay, Isabel. We all feel desperate at times. Nobody does it by themselves. We all need help. Her hand relaxed a little beneath mine and she started to cry. We talked for a while later. There is no them. There is only us. When I left, I did not leave one of them. I said goodbye to one of us, a human being doing the best she can, searching for the home for which all our hearts long. We are survival of the nurtured. Friendliness nurtures our soul. So let's take a pause here. I invite you to come into stillness, and to take a few breaths. Let the breaths bring you right here, right now. And you might bring to mind someone you'll be seeing in the near future, perhaps a friend, family member, a colleague. Sense the intention towards friendliness. And which of these different pathways that arouse the qualities of friendliness you might call on. Perhaps eye contact, smile, touch, a question that goes deeper, listening. And imagine doing it. Imagine offering it. Imagine creating a space where the possibility of human connection becomes greater. So the next place I want to look is bringing that quality of friendliness into our wider world with those we don't know. And I've already mentioned a bit in the small acts of kindness, holding a door for someone and so on. In this part, I want to look at how we can use our attention to make people and other beings more real to us so that we feel a genuine sense of friendliness in a more spontaneous way. I often talk about unreal others, how it's really part of our design that when people are different, to not feel that they're like us, to not sense their realness, their consciousness, their heart. So what that means is that when we're experiencing the world as unreal others, we move through the world, through the public in a kind of bubble of a separate self, and it's not so friendly. So 3 degrees of friendliness, it actually is a way to dissolve the bubble. And I want to share one particular way we can do that that's really powerful. And it's by mentally communicating to others, sending a message, and then sensing a response. In other words, you're imagining a relational field and you're silently relating to a fellow being. So you can think of it as a silent relational communication. And let me explain a little because that might sound way out there. For example, in line at a coffee shop, someone ahead looks tired, guarded, and you mentally are communicating, we are friends, we are friends. And you imagine some sort of a small positive response. And maybe this expands you to having eye contact or smiling. Something human passes between you. And the example I'm sharing is something that happened also at the airport. The point is this: when we silently communicate something like, we are friends, and pause to imagine a response, we're activating the brain's relational systems. Because human connections, they're not only built through physical interaction, it's also built through relational simulation. Our brain's capacity to represent another person or a group of others, and we start representing them as responsive beings, not an object or a category. For instance, whenever I give a talk and I'm nervous beforehand, it's because I'm in that bubble. But if I reflect on you, on those in the field who are joining me, and I mentally sense we're friends, we're waking up together, we care about each other. I mean, even as I say it right now, something dissolves, something opens. So we become more safe. And the reality is, it doesn't manufacture connection. It reveals the connection that's already there. We stop relating from such a distance. So we can do this kind of mental communicating when we're seeing a human, a non-human, a plant, a tree. I mean, I do it with trees all the time. We are friends. Or it could be, we both belong, or thank you, or we're sharing this moment, or may you feel safe and happy. So again, I invite you to bring your attention inside, close your eyes if it helps, take a few breaths. And imagine yourself in a public place that's in a natural setting, some sort of a park. And imagine that you, in some way, cross paths with a human that's of difference of some sort. And in some way, you mentally communicate, we are friends. Or may you be happy. And imagine that there's some response. People love love, that there's some response on some level energetically. Notice that being becoming more real. And that you pass by some non-human animal, a squirrel, a bird, a dog. We are friends. And imagine a response. And sense that being as sentient, real. And a tree. You might even put your hand on a tree. We are friends. And imagine an energetic response. This is a living, sentient being. And again, taking a few breaths. If your eyes are closed, open your eyes. Cultivating friendliness, it reconnects us with the awareness, the heart space that's our true home. And 3 degrees friendlier, 3 degrees warmer, it serves the global warming we need, a healing for our world. And here's the thing, it's very easy to feel that what we do doesn't count. Many, many people talk about that feeling that powerlessness in our world today. But we belong to our world. We impact our world with every thought, every action, every prayer. All our expressions of consciousness contribute. There's a reading that goes like this. A sparrow asked a dove, "What is the weight of a snowflake?" The dove says, "Nothing more than nothing." The sparrow says, "Then listen to this." He tells how he was sitting on a fir tree while snow fell, softly, gently, no storm at all. He counted every snowflake that landed on his branch, millions of them. And when the very next snowflake landed, nothing more than nothing, the branch broke. That's what I love about the reminder that it's not one dramatic act that changes a system. It's the accumulation, the tipping point. 3 degrees friendlier in our own lives might feel like nothing, a warmer tone, a softer gaze, a moment of not turning away. But maybe that's exactly how the armoring around our heart begins. And more broadly, how the softening and opening and caring in our society comes alive. So just take a final moment here, a final reflection. And in whatever way feels true for you, sense your intention for awakening your heart. Sense your intention for 3 degrees friendlier. And perhaps again, one concrete place to practice in the next day or two. And sense our shared intention to widen the circles. To widen the circles, include in our heart all beings. Just as a mother would protect her only child at the risk of her own life, even so should one cultivate a boundless friendliness toward all beings. So feeling our shared prayer, friends, may our caring for life, may the accumulation of snowflakes help heal and transform our world, bring a growing love, compassion, justice, and freedom to our world. Thank you. Blessings.